working yarn is coming from this peg, so I'm going to put my slip knot, actually, instead of a slip knot, I'm just going to do a loop. Doing my loop on this one, and I'm going to hold both strands together so I don't have this long tail to weave in. And as you can see, I'm going over every other peg, and I'm going to wrap at least 3 to kind of lock that string in. Then that string will kind of be buried in here. And then I will go and show you. I will do this slow so you can see I'm wrapping every other peg. But I think, and when I'm doing this, I usually, sorry, I had to move the working yarn out of the way. And see, you can just keep this in one place and wrap all the way around. And that is awesome. Now, this one that we started with, I'm re-wrapping it. Then I'm going to take my loom tool and take that bottom loop over. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take, just so I don't have to mess with it, I'm going to take the black and actually just stick right there so I can go ahead and do my like rainbow variegated color. And with it, I'm just picking up the opposites. It's coming from this peg, so I'm just picking up what I haven't got yet. The reason I chose to do a 2-collared project for my first project on this loom is because see how fast you can wrap this up. I'm already done with the row. You don't have to worry about, again, I am taking the loop off, so these are locked in. And actually, usually what I do is, while I'm working on them, this, which I love this fact that I can do this while I'm working the row, I can shove both yarn inside the loom. That way there's nothing in the way of me wrapping this or knitting off these pegs, which is basically, that means taking the bottom loops over the top loops, pushing everything down. And this will create, the black will be kind of like these beige stripes, and the rainbow color will be like the blue and the darker brown. Whether you're using these tools or this tool, take and knit off. One thing I do suggest is I do not always start at the same spot. So I'm not starting right here where my stitches are already cast off, just to hold those in place so it doesn't come undone. Maybe I'll start over here for the inside and knit off all the way around. Like I said, I prefer to do the inside first. It seems to be a lot easier that way. You have more room on the outside of the loom to maneuver your hooks and everything. So it just, for me, it works better that way. You don't have to do it that way. That just seems to work better for me. So you'll knit off your entire inside, and then just pick a random spot on the outside, and then knit off the entire outside. Push all those down, and I'll show you your next row. Alright, that row is complete. Now we can do our next row, which I'm just going to pull the black out and leave the rainbow yarn in. And you always start with the same color. So every row I start with black. I'll zoom in a bit. And now for this row right here, because the row you just cast off was the last of like your cast on row, so it was all the rainbow. So your next row will be rainbow and the black. There are some from your cast on that'll have more than one loop. You'll treat those like one loop. But okay, so my yarn is coming from this peg. So I will go up here, and you wrap just the same. all the way around. I'm just going to do this in real time so you can see how long, once you get used to wrapping it, how long it takes to wrap a row. And you knit that off. That one had 2 loops. Actually, that one might have had 3, I forget. But either way, it's out of the way now. So I stick that there. Alright, now the yarn is coming from this peg. And then I'm back to beginning. Knit that off. And then stick that one in there too. See, that went pretty fast. One thing I did forget to mention, every time you knit off a row and you push it down, look on the inside and outside and double check just to make sure you didn't accidentally knit any of these off, or that when you pushed it down it didn't pull that stitch back over. Now if you do end up finding any, like when you're working through, that have like 2 loops on it and they're not supposed to, be very careful. Let me zoom this in, just give you an idea what you'd do. What you'd want to do is you'd be very careful. You would take this stitch right here off, then you'd pull the bottom stitch there over top the top one. But you have to make sure you're pulling that bottom stitch over the top and that they didn't get crisscrossed, because if you get the wrong one, you are dropping the stitch and it'll come undone all the way down however far you have worked unless you catch it. I will do a separate video to show you how to pick those up in case that happens, because I've had it happen to me multiple times, because I like to binge watch, right now I'm binge watching Deep Space Nine while I am working on my projects. So what I just did, this stockinette stitch, that is the entire body of this project. And I found for me, this seems to be the perfect length because I can fold it in half and it just cover my neck, or I have enough to kind of cover my face and part of my head and part of the back of my neck. Altogether it is about 10.5 to 11 inches long. It's more, if I stretch this, it'll be, we'll say closer to 11 inches long. Now, this part of this right here will shrink down as you do your cast off. But what I do, and I will show you again when I get more of this worked out. See, you've got like a 4.5 inch space from here to here. This would be a lot easier if they need, I would really love it if they would make extensions for this loom to make it about double the length up, and then you don't have to worry about folding and measuring and you can just work. But what I do is I work it down, and once it gets down here it'll kind of start to pile and you got to kind of fold it up. I will work until it's folded up to where it's back up to this top. So it's going down and it's folded up and it's going back up, and then I will do my cast off, which of course I will show you that, so it's, hopefully I explained it good, but I will show you that before we do the cast off. Just work on the body, make it as long as you want. For me, about 11 inches was perfect. If you want it shorter, if you want it longer, you work it however you want, and I will show you the cast off. Alright. Okay, so here's what I was talking about. As it got longer, I folded it up and just kept going until it's about, see, it's up to the top, a little more than double the length. And my ball of yarn started getting small, so I wound it up, just stuck it there when I wasn't using it.